Hello and welcome to the It's All Good. Lucas here for a chat for our weekly Monday calls, which are for me at noon Pacific time. For you, I don't know. So I can say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, regardless of where you're watching this episode from. I'm really excited to be here today, and my guest is Jeffrey Denissen. And Jeffrey is a chartered professional accountant and certified internal auditor. So I'll tell you a little bit more about Jeffrey as I move forward, but I just want to introduce to you why am I here? Why am I doing this show and what it is all about? Well, it's called It's All Good because that's the way, my way of living, my way of thinking. And also, it's my favorite cup and it says it's all good. That's how I chose the name. But when I moved forward into creating this show, that's when I realized that that's actually the way I think. Things that have happened yesterday, 2 days ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, I can't change it. So what do I say? It's all good. I look for solution. I look for ways of, the gift into that solution, if to that problem. But in reality, you can't really change what happened in the past. So you can only move forward and say it's all good. And what about planning for the future? Whenever I think about planning a trip, planning a mastermind, planning a masterclass, planning a visit with friends, planning anything, planning to go shopping, like I can't predict what's going to happen between now and when that happens. So all I can do is move forward and feel as serene as I can into making those decisions towards the plan, but knowing that things can happen that will not work exactly as I was thinking. And then if and when it happens, then I say, hey, it's all good. Because then I look for the gift, I look for the knowledge that I've gained out of this experience. So this is why I do this show. And the people I invite are often people that can contribute to help you find solution for maybe problems you have, or different insight, or different ways of thinking about your life and the way you live your life. So today, as I was mentioning, I have Jeffrey Denissen, and our topic today will be find out why you might want to hire a certified internal auditor. Because an internal auditor is responsible for ensuring that a company complies with the legal obligation under financial record keeping and accountancy law. So you want to have your books in order and make sure that there's not much rounding the corner type of feelings whenever you do your book. So that's why an auditor is there, to keep you in line and make sure you're complacent with the law. So let's welcome Jeffrey. Welcome, Jeffrey. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you for being here, for inviting me.
It's such a pleasure. So tell me a little bit, how does someone, tell me a bit about you, where you come from, in a sense, like you have an accent like I do. I'm from Montreal. But what brought you to do what you do today? And tell me about you. The floor is
Okay,
open.
it was quite a journey. People will recognize my accent. I'm from Holland. I'm from the Netherlands. That's where I started off as a chartered accountant.
Yeah.
Um, in 2013, I came to Canada. After, well, you had the financial crisis in 2008. That was a moment in my life where I had to think about, okay, what do I do? What is the next step? And Canada provided me some opportunities because there was a lot of work in compliance, financial
Mm-hmm.
compliance. And I found a job here in Vancouver, next to Granville Island. I was really happy with that. Did that for 6 years, worked for the credit union system. And last year I decided, okay, and the COVID triggered that a little bit from, okay, I want to do it a little bit different. I want to do something for myself. I want to help more people than I currently do. And that's where I decided to start my own company, my chartered accountant company. So I take care of compliance for people
Mm-hmm.
from a financial perspective. If they have an issue with the CRA, I can help them. And I look at processes. That is really what I'm good at. How to make things efficient, how to make sure it complies to all the requirements,
Yeah.
and how you can use it to grow your company or how you grow yourself. What kind of items do I have to look at financially? So you can look at several aspects in growth, but I look at the financial aspect.
Oh, nice, nice. And so what does like auditing came into play? Why would someone hire you? Like I hear a lot personally because I'm not an accountant, but when I hear people, oh, I got audited by the government.
Yep.
So do you want to hire an auditor prior to getting audited by the government? So how does that work? For me, when I hear about I being audited, then I feel like, okay, I need to have someone. But how does that? What's the process of hiring someone like you?
So the process first, I have I look into what are you what is your company about?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? So what kind of processes do you have? Do you do your accounting yourself? Do you have your own bookkeeping program? And how much time do you have for that? Do you enjoy it? Yes or no? And if you don't enjoy it and it's really a struggle, I always say, give it to me. I'll take care of it. And I make sure you don't have the questions regarding the CRA. So you're not being kept up at
You
night.
don't raise flags. Is that what you're trying
Exactly.
to say?
Yes,
Because we don't want our flags to be raised when it comes to doing your income tax return.
exactly. So what I do is make sure the foundation is right.
Yeah.
And from that foundation, I can help you also to set KPIs and then
What's
start focusing on
KCI?
the growth. A KPI is a key performance indicator. So, for example, you want to have your revenue in a certain spot, a certain area.
Yeah.
I'll help you to look at your books, determine, okay, how can we see on a monthly basis what is the indicator for the right direction of that
Hmm.
activity that you have, and then move it forward. So
Okay.
we can have
Okay.
monthly conversations. I see this in the books. Is this also what you intended to do? And then we can say, okay, if you have to move it up or you're happy, then no action has to be done. But if you're not happy, we can see, okay, what kind of actions we need to do? Do we need to cut costs, or do we do more sales activities? What is happening with your books? So I look from that perspective and
Okay.
try to help you grow in that perspective.
So if I understand well, what you do is you actually like give a like you paint a picture of the person's business, right? Saying that, okay, this is your revenue, this is your expenses, these are your system that you have. Like you kind of put it all in perspective so that someone can, if they see that their revenue in the end is not high enough, so then you just say that, like, do you want to make more money or do you want to spend less? So sometimes they might be spending money in places they're not aware that they could be reduced, and then you will have a look at that with them and recommend different things. Is that what it is?
It's exactly that. I try to achieve goals with them. So,
Mm-hmm.
the first conversation, what kind of goals do you have and how are we going to achieve them? What is the gap that you currently have that you want to have solved?
Mm-hmm.
Go forward. So, most people hire an accountant because they recognize they have an issue. They are not on top of their finances, they have an issue with the CRA or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they are start calling around, and then you have to find an accountant that you trust and that you know is capable. So that's what I always say: call around, make some calls, and see who you like best, because it's all very personal, and you have to make sure that you have a right fit because you're going to work with that accountant on a monthly basis. I hope
Yeah,
to
yeah,
move it
ideally,
forward.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so tell me, what did you enjoy, what do you enjoy the most to do on a daily basis in your business? What's you could geek on? I can tell you're already geeking quite a bit talking about this, but what can you geek on every day? Like every day, like what would you like to do?
Well, the big assignments that I get where I help out the department is really that's what I at the end of the day I say I have somebody I learned somebody a new trick. That's
Mm,
what I really enjoy. Or I gave them some new insight at the end of the day where they thought, that's a good question. Let's look into that. If people give me that kind of responses, then I had a really good day. to
Oh,
move them
great.
forward and
Yeah.
let them say, okay, I learned something today, because that, I think that makes life interesting.
Well, that's great. I feel the same with coaching, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's because when we are people of service, we want to help people. We want to see that whatever come out of our mouth goes into someone's ears and that makes a difference. And whether you're an accountant, whether you're a coach, I think you in some ways you're a little bit of a coach too, right?
It's very comparable.
A financial coach.
Yeah, it's very comparable. My
Yeah.
starting point is your financial goals, but at the end, those goals are only achieved by actions, and that's the same thing as with coaching.
Mm,
You have to do something, you have to move forward. So it starts with you. So you can leave my comments and not do anything, but it will not move you forward. Nobody
yeah,
will be
yeah.
moving forward.
So what helps you stay on track?
Being focused is the most important thing. Looking at what kind of clients I want to serve, and stay on track and make sure that I get all the information that helps those clients forward.
So how do you bring that knowledge of staying on track with your clients? So how do you apply that in your own business? Can you
I have,
transfer that skill to your clients, and how do you do that?
yeah, I try to give them some insight in my dashboards I have.
In your what?
In my dashboards. So I have a dashboard for what do I have to achieve this week.
Yeah.
I have the same, but a little bit more granular for my clients.
Oh,
So
cool.
we need to achieve this month. So we need to have a financial report. The GST has to be reported. Um, we have some payroll that has to be processed. So those are the little targets that need to be done to get your compliance in order. And then on top of that, you can also say, okay, next month we can do this more efficient. So, but to do
Mm.
that, I need to have the information in time, and let the client think about that.
I would have a hard time working with you.
I keep it friendly, so
I know
it's
keeping my finance on track. I'm usually like June 1st. Oh no, I gotta get to my paperwork. I know everyone, it's April 30th, but
yeah,
I'm really saying June 1st. So
yeah.
and
Everybody's different, and it works always.
oh,
Yeah,
for sure, for sure. I
yeah.
actually get money back this year. Woohoo! And so why would someone, what makes you special? Where would someone hire you rather than somebody else's? What type of experience can you explain that will help people understand more what you do, but why you? Because there's so many CPA out there. There's so many people that does taxes and bookkeeping and auditing. So what
Yeah.
makes you feel special?
What makes me special? Well, I've always been working on companies that grow or need changes, and that is my specialty. So if you want to grow your company, if you're just happy with where you are and you just want to have your bookkeeping done, I'm not your accountant. Um, I'm your accountant if you want to grow your business and you want to change things and you want to use the latest technology for making things very efficient. That's where I can help you. That's where my added value comes in. And basically, if you want to look at the long-term plan, that's where I can help you. So you want to
Mm,
retire. I think everybody wants to retire, but not too many people in my environment are ready to talk about it or set goals for that. And that's where I can help people from, okay, what do you need? Where do you want to go? And let's talk about that.
mm.
And
So
it can be
what?
painful if you're not working on it, I know, but that is the whole goal of everybody. So you
Yeah, of
can
course.
move away.
Eventually, I don't know many people that want to work until they die. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Eventually wants to be able to kick the shoes at some point, put your feet up and say, I had a great life. I'm going to have a great retirement.
yeah. Or if your job is really nice, you can keep doing that till the end. But not too many people have that, I would say.
Because it's funny you bring that up because I'm working with people right now into transitioning into the second half of their life and make it the best. And And what I found is really important for people is in transitioning and talking about retirement and what you want to do. But if you do something you really love, then you can do it part time, or you can mentor instead of be having to have a job and working. Or there's so many ways people can transition from being in the workforce and going into the retirement type of work. And perhaps, as I just mentioned, like you could become a mentor, you could have very select client instead of having, I'll give number here, instead of having 10 clients at $1,000, you might want to have, with the expertise and growth that people have, they might want to have two clients at 5,000, right?
Yep.
But then really select who they work with. So yeah, people don't have to stop working, but then I imagine you could help them transition in that direction, like really look at what other possibility they are and how they can. And also when people have investment, and then at some point they want to cash the investment, and when you put that against a salary, then sometimes they make too much money, right?
Yep. Yep.
So how do you work with that? How do you help them find the right balance? How do you do that with them?
Well, this is again looking at the KPIs, the key performance indicators they have.
Mm.
Where do you get your money from? And then see, okay, how much is it costing me? It's a really interesting exercise. So maybe you do it because you enjoy it. Maybe you don't enjoy that part, but it's something to look at. Okay, on the long term, is this something that is working for me? And you can also think about, and that's where my specialty is also, which costs can we cut to achieve the same goals, or what things can we automate to make the same goals. So some things you're doing that, or maybe you have to outsource, and then it's not costing you any time, it's costing you an amount to do that. But
So
maybe it's the better deal, so you can make more money.
what's the outsourcing? What do you mean by that?
So outsourcing would be, for example, if I do the entire bookkeeping of your company, then you
Hmm.
outsource that part. But there are other things that you can outsource. For example, marketing. I know a lot of people hire marketing. It's also a specialty.
Yeah.
Marketing people. You don't have to do everything yourself. But it's a trade-off, and that's where I can also help. Okay, what do you get out of it? How much it worth?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's
And
very
I must say,
interesting.
I do everything myself. Yeah, I do everything, most of the things myself, but there are other things that I should outsource and will outsource.
Yeah, that makes a difference for sure. Like when you don't have to do everything yourself, and be able to have, like, for example, I do pretty much everything myself in everything, even like bookkeeping and stuff. And yeah, that
Yeah,
would be nice that if every month somebody would come and look at my numbers and just store it in a nice database, and so
yeah.
come April 1st I could file my taxes as opposed to mid-June.
The next day, yes, exactly.
That's for sure. And um, like, I love money, but I'm a bit of an avoider when it comes to doing my taxes and keeping my books, really clear and all that. So I hope CRE is not listening and say, "Oh, we'll go look at our books." No, it's in order, but I'm delaying before I get it done.
Yeah, and I think many people with you. So from that perspective,
Yeah, that's really interesting.
yeah,
So, do you work on your own, or do you do collaborative work with other people with you? You said, because you were talking about delegating earlier. So,
yeah,
do you have a team of people you work with that could that support your clients?
yeah. I have a number of clients from the US,
Mm-hmm.
and what I do, I just coordinate what needs to be done, and I review things, and then we are living in interesting times. So I work with people from India, I work people from the
Oh, wow.
Philippines, Indonesia, and they are doing the bookkeeping for me. And I must say they're pretty good. And then the only thing you have encounter in those kind of cases is they're not up to date on what's happening here on compliance. So
Yeah,
you
yeah. So
need a
you have to double
Canadian
check.
to look at it.
Yeah.
And
So you
that's what
have to
I do.
double check, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I do. So most of the footwork is being done by them. And
Uh-huh.
I look at the compliance part, I make the last adjustments, and then we have something that complies with the regulations here.
So people can be confident into working with you that even though you might outsource to out of country, that the work will still be done properly because you always keep an eye on what's going on, right?
Exactly. I'm still responsible. You give me
Yeah,
the assignment, so I take the responsibility very seriously. So I do that.
of course, of course. And
Yeah.
so, how do you talking about compliance? I mean, there's always so much changes, in the tax law and the way, this is good one year, this is not good the year. So, what type of training do you have to continue having on a regular basis? I imagine you need to keep upgrading your skill and your knowledge. So, what is it that somebody like you would keep training on and to get even better and more accessible to have your knowledge more accessible to everyone. So can you tell a bit more about your training?
Yeah, like every chartered professional accountant, I
Yeah.
need 40 hours of professional training a year.
Okay.
And then I spend that most of the time on tax and process improvements.
Okay.
So get the latest information on. There's always a few trainings just before the tax season starts. I try to be in all those meetings and get the latest information and updates. And
Hmm.
that's how I do that. And I must say, there are always good tips for the latest changes. And I try to implement that right away when I see the first paperwork arriving on my desk. I try to implement that right away and talk about it and tell people, okay, you have to look at this. Um, or if they come with a proposal based on those trainings, I have really good feedback on why you should do things or why you shouldn't do things. Office expenses is always a discussion that people have. Should I put in my mortgage? No, you shouldn't. It will not help you on the long run. Those kind of discussions.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something that's important.
And I remember when we were talking, you were saying that you're taking a course right now so that you can become the CFO, like an outsourced CFO for a company. Is that right?
That's right.
So how
For
does that work for people that don't want to have someone in house all the time, but you need to have the proper paperwork filled up and all that? Can you explain a little bit what that will lead you into doing for companies and people?
yeah, fractional CFO is the term for that. And what I'm doing is I'm getting my certification with the Canadian Securities Institute for that, and it will help me. I've been working in the securities industry for a long time, so this is only the formal closure of getting my knowledge
Yeah,
approved.
yeah,
But a fractional CFO is basically like a full-time CFO. You have somebody who's on your board and is responsible for looking into the finances, for the compliance, looking for implementation of processes, and looking into what's happening in your company on a financial basis. Just having a good watchdog in your company, and making sure that everybody is in your company is supported with good financial information so that the right
hmm.
decisions are being made for other departments as well.
Because I
So
imagine that when a company is mostly when people are registered, right, a registered company, you need, legally to have these type of people in place, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
then if you don't have a CFO, like for me, if I was to register a company, I don't have a CFO, like I was like, I don't know. So I would hire someone like you to help me keep the business on track and so it's just contractual, right?
yeah. And the big advantage of a fractional CFO for my clients, I would say, is I try to get all the same type of clients so I can benchmark them. It's easy
Mm,
for me. It's not the first time I did it. So that will help my clients quite a lot, I would say, because you're doing things very efficient. If some other companies have an issue, you already solved it for another one. So if you encounter a problem, you have multiple people to talk about that problem and solve it in a very efficient and good way. So your network is growing. Plus, the biggest advantage for my clients, you don't have to hire a full time person. for small to medium companies, it's not necessary to hire
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's very expensive to hire a good full-time person.
I
So
imagine so. Yeah, for sure. And most of the time, it doesn't do anything. You know,
no,
I mean,
then
because there's just so much the.
person doing work what can be done cheaper. You're not, and plus that person is not focused. So that is the big advantage, I would say, from fractional
Mhm.
CFO. Really focused on what needs to be done at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And so, what? How? Like there's been so much changes in businesses and the way people operate their business in the last couple of years due to COVID. So how has that? What's your point of view on, on business and the changes that has occurred? Hold on.
The big change for me is I don't have to go out. I don't have to do any travel anymore. Everybody is familiar with Zoom meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I must say, I can do them way more efficient nowadays than going there, being on a table,
Yeah.
put my papers out, and then pointing at all the items in those papers. If I do that behind a screen, one, I don't have to go there. I save a lot of travel time, and two, sharing screens is really, I think, the big revolution in the last 2 years. By working with other people from elsewhere, you can just
Yeah.
point out the number, you can dive into the details right away, and the conversations get way more focused and to the point to get to good solutions.
As
So
opposed
I,
to have spreadsheets laid out on the table and flipping pages and
yeah, and sending an email afterwards. You know what? I'll send you an email after this meeting, then you can look at it. So things take longer. And
yeah.
now all of it in the same meeting.
And I'm sure people can, save money also now because, I mean, your time is your time, right? I mean,
Yeah,
whenever the work that you do and you don't have the oh, excuse me, give me a sec. I choked on my own saliva.
you're good.
So,
No.
so now whenever you don't have the distraction of the road or the traffic or this or that, you focus on your clients and then you go in a meeting and then you're 100% there. So that's
Yeah.
super cool.
And you see more and more virtual offices.
Hmm.
To be honest, I've been thinking about opening an office, but if you look at the costs that you have to charge to your clients,
Yeah, yeah, they pay for it.
um, I think I pay currently a big savings forward to my clients by not having an office.
Because the office space is like super expensive, you know and you
Yeah,
end up with a boring
yeah,
little cubicle, in a windowless area that you're depressed because. But now when you take your break, at least you can walk to your kitchen, you can say hello to your dog, to your kids, you can go for a walk outside, you walk back in your beautiful office, and it's like, oh, I feel so
yeah.
comfortable.
And on a personal level, I relax way more than if I'm in the row for a Starbucks coffee and then being stressed to be back in the office in time.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
back in time now, so it's all good.
that's great. Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
good. See, it's all good.
exactly. Yeah.
So tell me, Jeffrey, somebody would like to know more about what you do. How can they get in touch with you?
So I have a website,
Okay.
jdennisoncpa.ca. You can book a meeting there, or you send me an email. My email is there as well, and I love to talk to people. So from that perspective, that's what I can offer too. If you want to have a strategy session on where you currently are, I can do that. We can set up a meeting, talk about your finances half an hour, and see if you're on track. If you're on track, you're on track. If you're not, I can help you.
Okay,
Um,
wonderful. So I'll put that in the show notes or in the comment in the chat. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah. And people think that's just for me. No, it helps me also to see, okay, where are people at? What are they desiring? So don't hesitate to book a meeting with me. I love those kind of things.
Oh, wonderful. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I think, do you have any last words, like last tips, or what can somebody do in regard to CPA and auditing?
Um, just be, I would say that the best thing you can do is make sure you have a CPA or an accountant that you can talk to, that has time for talking to you and listening to your problems, because then he has a solution at the end of the day. There
They're
should
the
be a real fit. I think that's important.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't trust Google or your Uncle Sam, you know? Like trust an
exactly.
you know, oh my no offense to you, husband, you know. My husband say I should be doing that, but the husband is not an accountant. So yeah, well, yes, trust your husband, but talk to your accountant. You know?
Yeah, or don't have your uncle doing it and trust him, and then be surprised in 10 years' time that it could have been cheaper. Those kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because yeah, that's what I found about, you know, like I have friends that have asked me, you know, like why don't you do your taxes yourself? You know, like it's not that complicated. And I'm like, you know what? The accountants, they know. They know what they can deduct, they know how much they know, you know, and then it's all clear. For me, I might, for example, my condo, not knowing, I might deduct 100%. Well, it's my house, it's my office, and you know, but then in the end it's like, no, it's not 100%, it's maybe 25%, you know, depending on your space and what you have, or even 30%, you know, depending on
Yeah.
how much you use. But you know, you got to know these things, and that's why professional, you know, CPA, they're the one that knows all the tricks of the trade. So hire a CPA and make sure that all your your ducks are lined up, and the bars of the T and the dots on the I is all proper, you know.
That's what I hire experts to,
Mhm.
and I always make sure that it's a good investment. And I would say the same goes for your accountant. I'm pretty sure if you hire an accountant, you make your money back double, at least.
Yeah, yeah, just
It's
to
always an investment,
yeah,
on the
knowing
long run.
what to do for sure.
Yeah. So don't
Well,
save on that. That is
yeah,
my
yeah,
last
don't go
comment
cheap
I would
on
say.
that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, book that call with Jeff. Make sure that it's going to be in the comment or in the show notes, and make sure that you book at least 30 minutes with Jeff. You know, it will be worth your while because it's complimentary. So you can't lose.
No.
So, Jeff, stay there. I'll be right back. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for those that have listened. And again, please subscribe, like, comment. You know, it's always welcome if you have any question. And next time, I'm super happy that I'll be here with, I'm never prepared for that. Next week, I will be with a lady called Lisa Wilson. So you'll be discovering next week what Lisa has to say. So until next time, be kind to one another and have a wonderful week. Goodbye.